world torn apart by disaster, a new society has emerged. Scarred survivors band together, their shared humanity, the only thing that keeps them pushing on against the hordes. But amongst this chaos, a new hero has risen. In the tumult of survival, an idiot on a Segway rides around with his tackle in the wind and asks people about board games. This is the Guild.
What? You mean he's still doing this bloody stupid thing? I thought after so long he'd given up. Alright then, give me a minute. Starring Ben Maddox as something and... who? Him again. And Stephen Syrek will say, you know the bloody drill.
I have to say, I love what you've done with the place.
Yeah.
I've been wondering for a while now. At what point did the cabin graduate to become a compound?
Well, it's always been a compound. So I fled,
Right.
and I found a cabin
Yeah.
that was surrounded by a large fence.
Right.
And I came here on my own for a couple of weeks. I was alone in the cabin. Very onanistic. It was a very onanistic time for me.
What can you define onanistic? I don't know that word.
You know, a lot of self-time, a lot of time to myself, Steve.
I really am not following.
So it was a lot of time to
I
myself.
feel like you're alluding to something, and I'm just not getting it.
Well, anyway, after a couple of weeks, there was a knock on the compound fence, and I happened to be doing the security.
Is it a fence or a wall?
It's fence.
Okay.
A fence.
How do you knock on a fence? It's like a wooden fence.
No, it's like a metal fence.
And someone knocked on the metal
They
fence?
knocked on the fence, yeah.
What does that sound like?
Chicka, 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 chicka.
And you heard
Chicka,
that?
chicka, chicka, chicka.
You heard that from the cabin?
Yeah, I had it from the cabin. I was listening to some music, because I saw electricity then.
What were you listening to?
Krungbin.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I heard chinga chinga. And I remember it because it was in key with the particular song.
Just happened to be.
Yeah. And I looked out, and there was a small bald man.
Okay.
And he said, "Oh, can't do the accent. Oh, I'm ever so desperate. Let me into your house, please."
How much money did he have in his pockets after you shot him?
I didn't shoot him.
Oh.
I'm not violent.
Wait, are we in... has the zombie apocalypse happened yet in this timeline?
Yeah, this is after it's when I fled with my 5 games for Doomsday, which
TM.
you could, a £5 a month pledge, patreon.com/5G for D, and you could find out what they are, Steve.
Does money still exist in the world?
Yes, it's useless, but it still exists, and I keep it as a sort of nostalgic keepsake of...
Oh.
Because I've got loads of it now, and even though it's worthless...
You're like a collector.
Yeah, I'm like a collector.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah, I could imagine, I was in Jordan once, and this was in like the mid-2000s, and you could just buy like piles and piles of Iraqi currency from the Saddam era.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, right?
Yeah, and
completely worthless.
I feel rich in my heart.
Oh, well, I don't see why people don't just send all of it to you. I mean, what are they going to do with it?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, what are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that people, if they have ever happen to listen to this...
Yeah, people who have money, like left over from the before times.
Like, send me their money?
Yeah, I think people... I personally think people should send you their money.
I mean, just. I mean, how do I say this without sounding, like I'm begging? Maybe I could say something like, please send me
Let me do it for
money.
Let me do it
you
for
do it for me.
Please send Ben money. You don't need it. You can't buy anything with money anymore.
Yeah, with money.
Give it to him.
Give it to me.
Yeah, he's going to put it to a good purpose. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe he will continue his onanism with it.
Well, if you look, I use it as wallpaper.
Oh, I didn't notice that actually. Yeah.
Onanistic wallpaper.
Oh, look at that! You know,
Stephen.
it's very dimly lit in here. I didn't notice.
Well, anyway,
why do you keep it so dimly lit?
You don't want to see it.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm bopping in the kitchen to Krungbin.
That's a real band, right?
It is a real band, yeah. Bopping in the kitchen to Krungbin.
Yep.
And then I chingy, 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 chingy.
That's the knock on the metal fence.
It's a knock on the metal fence, perfectly in key.
You're really good at... I have to say, you're really good at noticing these like musical correspondences, I think.
Yeah, I am. I'm harmonically tuned.
Do you remember long ago, before the world changed, when we used to go to Essen?
Yeah.
And you always point out to me that the subways, the doors?
Yeah. When they announce the next station, it sounds exactly like the first two notes of the Mario theme tune. Boom, boom, does that.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Anyway, so...
It takes a certain kind of auditory acuity to notice something like that.
Exactly.
I just wanted to give you credit for it.
I don't need credit. It's natural, Steve. It was given to me. So I can't take credit for something that's just natural.
I'm impressed. I can't do that.
Anyway, chinga, chinga, chinga on the fence. Maria, chinga, chinga, chinga. Right? So I go out. Oh, save me, he says. Save me. Can't do the accent. Save me. And little bloke, white vest, bit Willisy. You know what I mean?
I still don't understand why you're opening the gate after the apocalypse to anybody.
Because I'm a nice bloke. Anyway, he comes in and he goes, "Oh, thank you for saving me." Well, you know the dictatorial leader who now oversees the whole and keeps us in line and is truly, truly wonderful and beneficent.
That's another development I wanted to ask about.
Well, that was him, you see.
Ah.
He came in, and before I knew it, I was confined to one room of the cabin, the kitchen.
How long did that take?
A couple of hours. I mean, I didn't put up much of a fight, if I'm honest. I mean, not because I'm not, physically imposing or anything. I'm just exceptionally lazy. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah, so he took over very quickly. Took a lot of the burden from me, though.
What burden? One example of a burden.
Let me think. At the time, what was I doing?
The onanism thing.
I mean, a burden. Going outside to piss.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You don't do that anymore.
No, I use the toilet.
Which burden did he remove?
Well, he restricted my water.
Okay.
So I didn't have to urinate as much.
Ah, I see. That makes sense.
So that was gone.
That makes sense. Okay.
I mean, he stole my Krungbin CDs. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have the burden of wiggling that ass.
Yeah, now that you mention it, he restricted my water as well.
Well, he's restricted everyone's water.
This is like Fury Road, right?
Well, he's restricted everyone's water because he wants us to be pure. And as he told you, pureness comes through dryosity.
Well, I have to say then, I'm really glad you didn't shoot him.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, exactly. Anyway, so, blah, 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 compound, loads of different people.
Yeah.
Going around on a Segway asking people questions about,
Must be a
board games.
Pretty big compound after all.
I mean, it's a huge compound. You've seen it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get out much, but I've seen parts of it.
Well, I mean, mostly you spend your time on your knees worshipping the frozen head of Meeple Pete.
That's one way of putting it.
Which the leader's getting a bit concerned that you might be worshipping false idols. Meeple Pete
Idols?
is the golden calf of the compound.
Idols for sure. False.
Falsch.
Did I say falsch?
Falsch.
I've been living in Germany for too long. Falsch.
Ja, that idol is falsch.
Es ist kein falsch.
Are you adopting the mother tongue of the legendary Meeple Pete?
I mean, you would do, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, it's so beautiful. It trips off the tongue.
I saw him recently, and every time it's like I'm in an angelic presence.
Yep.
Like his shadow cast over me.
Yeah.
His long shadow cast over me. Blots out the sun.
Blots out the sun. Anyway, but I go round. I've been going around on the Segway.
Yep.
And I thought I wanted to be on brand for once.
Which brand?
My brand. 5 Games for Doomsday.
Is that a brand?
Patreon.com/5 Games for Doomsday. 5G for D. I didn't even
give Ben your money.
I didn't even get the fucking URL right. Patreon.com/5G for D, Steve.
The number 5.
And the number 4.
5, letter G, 4.
The number.
The number 4, D.
D.
5.
D for that D.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
So anyway, I asked them, do you know what I asked them?
Should I guess?
Have a guess. You've got 5 guesses.
Okay. What's your favorite game?
No, didn't ask him that. That's a urine question.
What's your second favorite game?
That's a better question, but I didn't ask them that.
What kind of game? I give up.
Did you know it was pronounced Bill Watterson and not Bill Waterson? That wasn't the question, but did you know that?
No.
Bill Watterson.
Oh, you're not joking.
Bill Waterson, yeah.
You're not joking. You should go around asking people that. Nobody will know this.
Did you know that?
No.
That it was Bill Watterson and not Bill Waterson?
No, I mean, it sounds made up.
Did you know Calvin and Hobbes only came out like in the mid-90s? No, mid-80s, and stopped in the mid-90s.
Yeah, I was
10 years.
I think I was there for that.
Yeah.
I grew up reading Calvin and Hobbes. I had all the books. I was obsessed.
Did you cry when he stopped? Watterson.
No, I mean, he stopped at around the time that I was probably ready to stop anyway.
Pearl Jam took over from Calvin.
Best game ever, Calvin Ball. You should go around asking people the rules of Calvin Ball.
Anyway, so what I asked them was...
What would your rules be for Calvin Ball?
I kick you in the nutsos.
What's a Civ game? No.
No.
What's is it necessary for a co-op game to have... this is very hard to do. I can't believe you do this every week. You come up with a question to ask.
I know, it's just the endless labyrinth of my superior brain pan, Steve.
So what was it?
What makes a Doomsday game?
I never would have thought of that.
No, it's great. That's why
Literally.
That's why I'm the one who makes the meager money, and you're the one
Meager for now.
who worships Meepy Petey.
Meager for now, but when people hear this, I don't know how they're going to hear it. I mean, how do you...
I put it over the PA.
Like the tannoy?
Yeah. So it's sort of... Hello, my name's Stephen. Oh, yes, I'm indulging your idiocy. My name's Ben, by the way. Yes, I'm shitting my panties.
Do you think like holding your hand up to your face to imitate a microphone enhances the quality of the recording?
That's how I do the tannoy sound effect.
It's good. It's good. Accurate imitation. Was that me?
Hello, my name's Stephen. I'm shitting my own pants. What do you think?
I can't believe you don't get more work as an actor.
I know, the variety.
It's like literally criminal.
This is my voice.
Yep.
Hello, my name's Benjamin. I come from Tinseltown. And then this is Stephen. Hello. Oh, sorry, Mum. I'm just shitting my panties.
It's a striking contrast for sure.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
I'm the Dan Castellettos of the compound.
Castellettos?
Yeah, Dan Castellettos.
Who's Dan Castelletto?
Played Bomer Simpson.
Oh, Dan Castellanato, I think.
Yeah, he's now a zombie. But what's really interesting is if you speak to him,
Yeah.
he goes, "Do!" when you kick him in his zombie balls.
That's pretty funny.
It's great.
That brings back memories.
I tell you. Anyway, so I said one of my framing things is I said, is it sentimental? Is it pure utility? Or is it something else? Let me know.
Like one of the games that somebody would take to
the cabin.
the
One of
cabin,
the 5 games.
the compound cabin.
Well, I call it the cabin. It's
Yeah.
one of those sort of, it sounds more
It's like
homely.
the cabin in our minds.
It's how I get people through the door.
Yeah. I'm struck by how many people who you have on your show want to bring like random objects with them. Usually like decks of cards, blank sheets of paper, string, rubber bands, paper clips.
It's
Not like stuff that I would consider like a game.
It's the innate creativity in people's minds. What are games, Stephen? They are simply rules that we apply to normal everyday actions.
Yeah, I mean, I could sit there with my own imagination and not have anything at all.
I put my socks on and I make it a game.
Tell me about the socks game. I'm interested.
Can I put my socks on through the non-open end?
You could try putting your socks on in different ways, like without using your hands.
Through the non-open end. You know, socks have got like a closed end
Yeah, no, you could
and
do
an
that.
open end.
You could do that.
I try and put them on through the non-open end.
Yeah, I could see that.
I haven't succeeded yet.
That's a pretty good game. I mean, I think what makes this a decent Doomsday game is the futility of it.
How many peas can I stack up, one on top of another, had peas
not been attacked by the plague and now are extinct.
I think we have our answer. A Doomsday game is a game that you'll never master, and you have the rest of your life to try to master.
Well, Creve Dog, Charlotte Malone, she said, I think it's both. Interestingly, I offered 3 options. So she's grasping, it's either she doesn't know the meaning of both, or she half read my sentence.
Oh, the 3 options that they were supposed to choose from among, or examples of 3.
Is it sentimental?
Yeah, right.
Is it pure utility? Or is it something else? And she said, I think it's both.
So it's not something else.
It's not something else. You're
Okay.
something else.
Thanks, man. So it's sentimentality and utility.
She said, you had a guest. My apologies, I can't remember who it was.
Probably me, right?
You haven't done the main show. You're never getting on the main show, love. Come on now.
I could work hard and get there.
Design your game about Adrian's Wall, and then I'll have you on the main
I've
show.
got a lot of game ideas, I'll have you know.
Once you've got a box with your name on it, then we'll talk.
Does it have to be published by someone?
Yeah.
I mean, I can get a box right now and put my name on it.
That's not going to work. Fantasy Flight. Get a game published by Fantasy Flight.
High bar.
They don't publish submissions either, so you'd be doing really well. So, you had a guest, my apologies. This is my impression of Creve Dog. You had a guest, my apologies.
Creve Dog?
That's her nickname.
How's it spelled?
Creevdog.
Okay, that's too bad it's not Criff Dog. Criff Dog is...
What's Criff Dog?
It's a very popular hipster hot dog joint in Brooklyn.
No, it's Creve Dog.
I used to go there a lot. Criff Dog's great.
Of course you did.
Yeah, it's like...
$17,000 for a hot dog, please. Oh, yes, I'll happily play that, because I'm a fucking bellend.
But they had fixins.
Yes, they did have fixins for only $9,000 a gram.
I mean,
This is average.
I mean, it's a good thing money has no value anymore. I can just like dump piles of it onto the counter at Criff
Which is
Dog.
why, if anyone's listening to this over the...
Send Ben your money.
Send Ben your money.
Least you could do is buy him a Criff Dog.
Exactly. So, can I get through this without you interrupting me?
You can try.
Good. You had a guest, my apologies, can't remember who it was, who, when asked about the one game he would hope is still on the back seat, said X, don't know what X is, because he's assuming that his wife isn't with him in this cabin and that he played that game with her and he wanted to keep that memory. This was the second time I openly wept whilst listening to your podcast, by the way.
What was the first time?
I assume it's when she heard your golden tones going over the airwaves. Oh, God! I've shit myself! And then, I think a lot of people probably cried at that.
You know, you can be really mean sometimes, Ben.
Yeah. So, games.
One of these days, I'm going to get out of this abusive relationship.
First time, Stevie. Anyway, games really are a kind of scrapbook of memories of people and places. I have an entire set of games in my house that aren't with my regular games because I never play them, but they hold too much sentimental value for me to get rid of them. But practicality of the need to fill time is also a huge factor. Games with a high variability would be essential, as I imagine playing them over and over in that cabin. So, you had 2 distinct phases of your gaming life. Your 90s Avalon Hill phase and your sort of modern Eurogame phase.
Kind of, yes.
Which has mutated into sort of quite a creepy splotter obsession.
My splotter obsession is completely apt, I would say.
But
They're amazing.
You are trying constantly to reclaim those old games.
Okay, at what point do you think a man stops living his life and starts living his past?
Well, I assume...
I think 40 is about it.
Well, I was...
Second childhood.
I was obviously an early starter. But the only time I ever remember you being starstruck and, your insouciance dribbling away was when you met the Ragnar brothers. And you were quite excited about that.
See, you're accustomed to this kind of thing, right? This is the first time... Was it the first Essen I went to? I don't even remember.
No, this was like last year, wasn't it?
Second, yeah, okay, still. I had never met board game designers before.
Okay.
Like board games to me, they like existed in the world, and I played them. And the idea that there were actual human beings behind them, it was like when did pretentious directors start putting their names on every film that they direct? You know, a film by so and so,
Right.
or like whatever. You know, a Paul Thomas Anderson film. I mean, it's kind of a recent development. This director as auteur thing.
Johnny Farballs.
There are a lot of games back then. You wouldn't have known who the designers were or cared.
Whirlpool Piss Party
Now,
by Johnny Farballs.
every-
Johnny Farballs joint.
It's like writing a novel, and then like the title of the novel is like my stupid, overrated novel about life in New York, a novel. And now games are becoming like this, where I don't even know if most people buying them have heard of the designers, but the designers' names are like front and center.
But these games, you're trying to reclaim, trying to buy these old games that you experienced in the sort of flowering of your youth. Is it just because you feel more secure because you're reliving those early days? Or are they tied to specific people? Are there specific people that you haven't seen for 20 years that you kind of are trying to retain the memory of by having these games in your possession?
Good question. I think it's definitely not about the people. I used to play with a gaming group in New Jersey in the 90s, and
I believe it's pronounced New Jersey.
yeah, it's for your international listeners. I'm trying to pronounce it, you know, using received modern standard English. Is that a thing?
You made it sound good.
Anyway, yeah, it was great, but there was no particular person there that I had any kind of like attachment to. Like I missed them. I mean, basically, I was 16, and they were all like middle-aged men, like the kind of middle-aged man that I am now.
But what are your memories of those
It's kind
times?
of creepy, right? It was a bunch of middle-aged men and me. There weren't any other young people there.
I mean, did they nonce you up?
Not that I recall.
Well, then it's not creepy at all, is it? So, I mean, but what are your memories of those times? Were those times playing games sort of escapes from all the trials and tribulations of being, I assume, quite a gonky-looking 16-year-old?
I mean, for sure, there was some element of escapism. I wasn't with my mother. I wasn't with my father. I grew up with divorced parents, so I would go to the game group when I would visit my father, and at first he would drive me, and I went for so long, eventually I had my own car, and I would just drive myself. But I didn't have to deal with parents or school or even like my regular friends. I mean, even dealing with your friends when you're a teenager it can be like traumatizing, depending on the kind of relationship that you have with them. And this was just totally separate. And I would go, and it was on Sunday, and I think I'd show up around noon, and sometimes I would be there until 1 a.m. The time would just slip away, and a lot of the games we played just took a really long time. Not all of them. I mean, there was a lot of Magic the Gathering back then. I mean, I burned out on Magic very quickly. And then these guys would bring in these train games, like the Mayfair crayon games that I still love. And a lot of them would play war games. I would once in a while play them, but they weren't the games I liked the best. History of the World, the one that you're referring to, the Ragnar Brothers game. I didn't know who the Ragnar Brothers were until really recently. I had no clue who designed this game. I was just I don't know, the kind of young man who was really into history, really loved my history classes, really loved ancient history, the story of civilization. Like the whole Civ game genre was basically invented for people like me. And this game, you know, compared to a lot of Euro games, it's not complicated or sophisticated, and I don't even know if you would like it. I haven't been able to convince you to play it, but somehow it captures for me the sweep of history in a way that I find really compelling, and the game tells a story, and I like a game, I say this once in a while, right? I like a game in which I feel like I'm part of a narrative or something. And it is probably the case that I am trying to like relive the emotion that I felt back then by playing this game again now and trying to share it with my gamer friends now.
I mean, do you think the popularity of games is something to do with fear?
Fear of what?
Well, I don't want to sound like... I was speaking to a friend earlier, And we were talking...
You have another friend?
Friend. You say friend,
Right.
corpse of a squirrel, you know.
Yeah, okay.
And the point is, if we're looking at sort of 2019, what's different is it's not just the poor that are being screwed. The middle class are being screwed. Not long contracts, bad salaries, bad working conditions, and all the money is funneling up to the top. And it's essentially what's going to cause the apocalypse, right?
Has caused?
Yeah, I'm doing that history thing where you talk about the past and the present.
Yep, got it.
Present simple
I'm on board.
tense.
I'm on board.
And there's this sense that somehow democracy, the Western experiment, is somehow falling to bits, and all of our sureties are sort of crumbling, and we're attacking each other. There's great internecine strife from those on the right and those on the left, and those who believe in certain modes of life and those who believe in other modes of life, and there is an increase in dogmatism and an idea that you must pick a side and then you must subscribe to any dictate that that side puts. And so do you think this rise in Marvel movies, this rise in board games, and especially board games because they're willfully analog, they're willfully whimsical, is it about fear? Is it about insecurity? And is it about returning to this sort of Narnia of your youth where nothing really matters?
I mean, if you're asking this as a personal question...
I'm asking it as a sociological phenomenon.
Right, but you didn't play these games in your youth.
Yeah, kinda. I flirted with 40k, I flirted with role-playing games. I played a lot of mass-market-y board games.
I mean, I wonder if it's not a refuge into something. I don't know if it's always going to be for everybody a refuge into the past. Unless we all grew up as children with play as a major component of our lives. And gradually as you get older, play becomes less and less important. And until you're more or less just a spectator at best, most people, I think. And this is something maybe games allow us to recapture, right? Like the spirit of play. Of course, a lot of gamers ruin that by being like obsessively analytical about it anyway.
I mean, what is that George Bernard Shaw quote? We don't stop playing because we grow up. We grow up because we stop playing, or something like that, isn't it?
I thought he's the one who said something about if those who can do, those who can't teach. So fuck George Bernard Shaw.
Did he say that one?
Yeah, fuck him. I mean, he's a good writer, though, isn't he?
I mean, what's the one?
Man and Superman's pretty good.
Man and Super, the last actor, Man and Superman. My God, that cray.
That's pretty great stuff.
Amazing, pretty great stuff.
Satan.
But, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because certainly for me, there's a nostalgic element to it. Mm-hmm. That's why, we got Blood Bowl.
Yep.
And not played it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit nostalgic for the object, but not for the people. Maybe for the feelings that the games arouse somehow. I don't know. I mean, you don't ask easy questions.
It's interesting because I think, when I think about my gaming group and the people who are parts of it, like I wouldn't have met you if it wasn't for games, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, I mean, many of them now dead, eaten to death.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't have met.
I mean, sorry about that. I was hungry.
Well, I always thought you looked a bit green about it because I won't tell anyone you're a zombois.
I just go after whatever's available.
I won't tell anyone you're a zombois. Don't worry about it.
Brains, Ben. Brains.
But a number of people. So, Chris...
Wait a minute, before we get to Chris. It was sentimentality and utility, right?
Right.
What was the utility part?
Well, I was coming on to that before you so rudely interrupted me.
Oh, onanism again. You can't get over this.
Well, my eyesight's going. Chris, Patrick C, PTC3 Blue Devil, Chris Greaves, Voodoo Child.
Is that all one name?
No, that's two people.
Oh.
I read out their name and their username.
So Chris.
So we got Patrick C, PTC3 Blue Devil.
Okay.
And then Chris Graves, Voodoo Child.
I see.
They talk about games having huge variability and replayability. And I guess that's the utility, right? You want something that you're not going to burn out on super quick.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, the way I've been playing games lately, I don't think I'm a very good judge of replayability.
Well, I mean, this is the problem, right? When you want to sort of dive into the hobby and know what's going on from a design point of view, from an artistic point of view, what different things are being made. Yeah, don't play games repeatedly, do you?
I mean, this is why the people who say they want to bring along a deck of cards are kind of brilliant, because if you have, the Hoyle book of card games, then it's just like limitless what you could play with a deck of cards. But it's also a bit of a cheat, because
It's absolutely a cheat.
Because your question is meant to force people to make what is ultimately a kind of impossible decision, right? And then it's easy to like look for ways out. Well, I don't want to make the decision, so instead,
But of course,
I'll bring a spiral-bound notebook of lined paper with me and design my own games. No, that's not the question. The question is, which 5 games, and only 5 games, would you want to spend the rest of your life with? And no one can come up with a definitive answer. I mean, moods change, tastes change.
Your 5 games is going to change from week to week, probably.
Could, yeah, exactly. And I think that maybe for you, I don't want to like read too much into what you're doing, but you're very much interested in using the 5 games that people choose as a way to discuss like who they are, like what goes into those choices, what is it about them that led them to make these choices, what does it reveal about them as people, as designers, as
Well, I think
whatever.
sort of my stated aim from the beginning. I think because I don't think anyone's chronicling this hobby in its nascent phase, right? I don't think anyone's chronicling the people, and the people aren't chronicling themselves. If you look at interviews, it's by and large a marketing exercise, right?
Yeah, sure.
They're talking about the new game, what's coming up, and of course that has its place, and that's not to denigrate that or anything. But I guess my stated aim is to try and have a repository of these early pioneers, so they don't fade from memory. And no one else is doing it, right? Kind of no one else is asking people where they come from, what their inspirations were. And I think that's vitally important. I think, how happy would you have been if there was a long, detailed scroll found, and it was a in-depth discussion with Lawrence Stern about his motivations and his background and his desire for writing books? I mean,
Why would that be written on a scroll?
well, because he's like old, isn't he?
Yeah, like a couple hundred years. I mean,
1700 scroll and that, eh?
I don't think so. Maybe a quill.
Well, yeah,
But it's a good question. This has come up a lot in academic discussions of literature. To what extent do we care about the personal beliefs, the cultural context, the motivations, the intentions of an author?
I don't think they're
It's
important.
debatable.
I don't think they're important necessarily in enjoying the work, but everyone's curious. Can you imagine if someone found a folio in an attic and it was just an interview with Shakespeare? Because they
I was
wrote,
waiting to get to Shakespeare.
can you imagine? And it's a novel thing.
Hamlet stole it from Marlowe.
Right.
Signed, William Shakespeare.
All of that sort of, long, in-depth just chats with Shakespeare about kind of what his life was, what he was taking for his syphilis, all of that sort of gubbins. I mean,
what would it change, though? About
nothing wouldn't change anything, but these people are so vital to our conceptions of who we are.
I think it's like our kind of modern obsession with celebrity that makes us think that kind of information would be useful or valuable at all.
It's nothing to do with useful or valuable. It's to do with enjoyable and satisfying a curiosity.
I kind of wonder if it's part of this modern phenomenon that I was alluding to earlier, that designers are now much more front and center.
Are you basically denigrating the whole premise of my show? Are you telling me that it changes nothing, that I'm bullshit? Are you calling me bullshit?
No, I'm having a conversation with you, Ben. Do you want to stop now?
It's so rude. But yeah, no, it's true. And I think
But game designers 20 years ago, like they are lost. They're a lost voice. I mean, did anyone interview Gary Gygax? Probably, but not much. I mean, who else was involved in D&D?
Right.
A lot of people.
Well, Dave Arneson, probably not at all.
I met him, by the way.
Dave Arneson.
I met Dave Arneson in the mid-90s at Origins.
Wow.
Very fucking old. So I didn't manage to have much of a chat with him, but he was standing right there. I mean, you think I was, stunned in the presence of the Ragnar brothers, Dave Arneson, one of the creators of D&D.
But think how important these people are, right?
Yeah.
How important these people are in just the construction of us as people. I interviewed Sandy Peterson. This is the man who wrote Call of Cthulhu.
Yep.
Designed fucking Doom, by the way.
He wrote Call of Cthulhu, the game.
Right. Yeah, no, it wasn't H.P. I didn't interview H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, that'd be something, though.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you got to interview H.P. Lovecraft? What would you ask H.P. Lovecraft?
I think there'd be a lot of editing, though, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, more so even than this.
Howard, can we get off the subject of immigration? Howard, Christ, come on.
Actually, it would be newly timely, though.
Right, but the point is, this is a guy who wrote Call of Cthulhu, the role-playing game. Astonishing piece of work. Designed fucking Doom. Doom!
Yeah.
How important is Doom as a piece of work,
Yep.
And, I think it's vital that these people's voices are heard and kept and saved. And even though I sound tremendously pretentious, I'm going some way to doing that, right?
I don't know that their voices are worth hearing because it adds something to the games that we play, but I think it does make participation in the hobby more enjoyable.
Right.
For sure. Like, I don't need to hear an interview with a game designer in a way, like, just to discuss the analogy a little bit that you're making. I don't know that it helps me to enjoy the games more that they made. For sure, I find it interesting what their thought process is. You had an interview with Richard Garfield, which it's like fascinating to listen to that guy talk and what motivates him and what he's interested in. When I was playing Magic the Gathering in the 90s, I knew who Richard Garfield was because there are a few named game designers from that period that you would have heard of. His was one of those names. But he was like a kind of, I don't know, spectral presence at best. Like, I don't think at the time I would have really cared to hear anything about him or to read an interview of his. I liked the game a lot. I don't know that knowing anything about him would have enhanced my enjoyment of it. Hearing him talk now, I'm really fascinated because the more games I play, the more I'm just interested in the medium, or you sometimes refer to it as an art form. These are the artists, and I've become kind of like interested on this meta level in it.
And I think there's a real problem. Like at Essen, and you put a photo collage up, and it's like you with Tom Vassell, you with some other media-y type, you with another media-y type, and you with Joris from Splotter.
Joris.
And no one knows who Joris is. One of the most, and I think that's a tragedy.
That was one of the only sincere photos too.
Because the YouTube people fundamentally are unimportant. To me, the people who are doing this stuff, we're essentially parasites. We're bottom feeders, living off the hard work and skill of other people that are actually contributing genuine value to our lives. And it's a tragedy that one of the most vibrant, original voices in this nascent art form is unrecognized by people. I think they deserve to be recognized.
I mean, I understand why you would refer to what you're doing as a parasitic, but I don't know if it's completely fair. I mean, this is like saying book reviews are parasitic or even criticism. I mean,
it has its place, but it's not the thing, is it?
It stimulates a conversation.
That's fine, but it's not the thing, is it?
It's not the thing, sure.
Who should you admire? The bloke who wrote the nice write-up of...
I completely understand what you're saying, and having spent years studying literary criticism, a lot of it I didn't care for, but some of it was brilliant. I mean, you can appreciate a good critic as much as you can appreciate a work of literature itself.
Well, I think on this we'll differ.
Like the thing, like the criticism itself can also be a thing.
Yes, although I don't think it's the thing. I don't think it's the center of it. I don't think it's where it lives. And even though I write reviews, and even I think it's important that the people who are doing the thing, actually doing the bloody thing, are more respected and are more loved than the people on YouTube talking about the thing.
Maybe so, but I still think that the world of ideas that you're contributing to is important, and it's even good for the creators themselves.
Yes, a rising tide drowns all zombies, doesn't it?
You can't make a mountain out of a cliche.
Yeah, you can't spread butter on an omelette without a Stitch in Time saving the cow jumping over the moon.
Okay, I was going to do a Stitch in Time one next, so I'm going to have to concede this one.
Anyway, well, that was thoroughly nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go.
Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go for a walk.
Okay.
Because I've been, told I've got duty.
What's your duty?
I have got to scrabble around in the mud, and if I find any shiny bits, I've got to take them to the leader.
Okay, so I guess I'll just go back to my cell and wait until the next time you want to do this.
Well, kneel in front of the...
Yeah, I'm going to be with Meeple Pete, obviously.
Because it's the best thing in the world.
It goes without saying. You know, he talks to me sometimes.
What does he say?
Well, I mean, that's between
Shit in my pants.
Does he listen to this, by the way?
I hope so. I don't think he does.
Is he a patron supporter? Patreon?
Did you just mention patreon.com/5G for D?
Is Meeple Pete a supporter of yours on Patreon like everybody else listening to this ought to be?
Yes, and you could be too. Patreon.com/5G4D.
Well, that was all rather crass and unedifying. Don't you feel slightly ashamed to have been part of it? Me too. Really, my shower's going overtime most of the time. But if you would like to join the 5 Games for Doomsday Guild, I can't imagine why you would, but anyway, go to the Board Game Geek Guild, 3,209. Is that even the number? I haven't looked. I don't really care about my job. Join us next time on... I'm going to the pub.